it's an interesting time because, there are things that are happening in sort of like mixed martial arts world, like YouTubers against the greatest fighters of all time. But I feel like, in the same way that YouTube is now a catapulter for, you know, anybody to become famous, to then take that next step to movies and making music and doing that. That's what WWE and other wrestling organizations were way before YouTube.
Right.
Like you have people like The Rock and John C, like all these people who, did it without social media, but
Right.
you leveraged this sport platform from an entertainment standpoint to be able to do that. Is that something that you thought about when you were first getting into it? That, there was like, the next, or that you saw, like, I'm sure as you were doing it, you saw The Rock become The Rock, like
For
probably the biggest
sure.
star in the world.
Yeah, that's crazy to see. Like, it's a pretty amazing, but it also goes a lot to just him as a person, and you can see how much drive he has, and hey, he's so ambitious and smart. Um, that would I think that we could all aspire to be some, in that type of leveling up, sort of marquee. Whether, but however, I think the beautiful thing about, and wrestling was always been a kind of ahead of the curve on a lot of these things. However, today with all these platforms, to be able to, it kind of gives the power back to the performer in a sense, because if you, that was never a thing, and within wrestling as well, because I think even when I was coming up, there wasn't a platform for me to grow. In fact, it was like I kind of grown to a level where it had enough like steam behind me on the like little underground circuit, where people are going like, who's this chick, who's this chick, to where I got signed. But then at that moment we got tucked away kind of in developmental, so we could learn and get better and fine tune and perfect all these little things in a safe space before we were brought to television, so we were never overexposed before we were ready. And now it's like people are getting all that happening on television, right? So they're like, some of them are learning on television, which is a blessing and a curse for some people. I mean, some people get reality television shows out of it, where the other people don't really ever get taken seriously as a performer because they brought up too early. But then there's other people who have been starving on the independent scene and who've been hungry and wanting, and it just kept going, 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 and they just shoot right for the stars as soon as they come on the scene and just kind of excel above everybody else. So it's different levels, and that's why I say, for me, I know I did it the right way by going like grassroots sort of way and learning, so that way by the time I got to TV I was over prepared. And I think that's why I excelled so quickly once I made it to television. It's just that journey to get into television was a little longer for me than, you know, a lot of people at that time.
Right.
Yeah.